I'm Alan Colmes. Welcome back to our microphones. Congressman Dennis Kucinich, former congressman and two-time presidential candidate, former mayor of Cleveland. And I've been thinking for a while, Congressman, about what you would be doing right now were you in power. What should we be doing about ISIS? What is the right response?
Well, I'd start with having Qatar stop funding them. I mean, to me, it's not even credible that Qatar could be providing money to ISIS and the U.S. spending $80 billion a year on so-called intelligence doesn't know that. And that Saudi Arabia was also involved in funding ISIS. The United States was involved in funding ISIS indirectly because we were funding the jihadis in Syria, and they kept rebranding. ISIS came out of that. ISIS has been in Iraq for a couple years, rebranded out of that. They work with the remnants of the Ba'athist army that Saddam Hussein had.
Yeah.
So, this all started, Alan, with U.S. intervention in Iraq. And if we think that somehow we're going to eliminate the insurgents, whatever their names are, as long as we have a presence in a country, we're dreaming. And so I'm totally opposed to the U.S. going back into Iraq. There's another game going on here that I do not like. It's not on the level. And, it's playing chess with human beings, and, people shouldn't be used as pawns.
When you say chess with human beings, of course, the argument has been, well, this ethnic cleansing, the Yazidis in northern Iraq, what responsibility do we have as a good moral power to do something if we see these kinds of injustices and beheadings and killings taking place?
Well, any kind of violence is abhorrent. I oppose it. That's why I oppose going to war against Iraq in the first place. We have to be aware of the consequences of our actions. There was a war against Christians in Syria that somehow escaped the U.S.'s attention. Any critical analysis that's been done on the conditions that brought the U.S. to attend to the Yazidis have resulted in making it clear that the United States overstated the case to justify intervening again in Iraq. The long-term game here is to partition Iraq, and that's, and to give the Kurds, who have a territory with oil reserves estimated about 45 billion barrels. You have to be aware that there's just another game going on.
What do you mean by another game?
The game of nations, geopolitics, grabbing resources, splitting up Iraq to make it easier for multinational oil companies to be able to grab the oil from the Kurds, who will be, very amenable to a deal with the West because they'd have their own government and be separate from Iraq. I mean, think about this for a minute, Alan. Why was the United States using ISIS as an excuse to get rid of Maliki? And this idea somehow of Maliki being opposed to Sunnis was baloney. I mean, he had about a third of his cabinet was made up of people connected with the Sunni organized effort inside the government. So, you can't expect people to follow the nuances of this. But overall, what's it about? Government lying, our government lying to the American people, and just as they lied to take us into Iraq in the first place.
I understand. I understand that.
They're lying to take us back into Iraq.
We're talking with Dennis Kucinich. I understand when Bush was in office and it was 9/11 and the Project for New American Century and the neocons' desire to get into the Middle East. But now we have a Democratic president, an anti-war president, a Democratic Senate. I mean, that's what I mean. Ostensibly is what I should say.
Give me a break.
So
I mean, this whole thing about President Obama's being anti-war, that was the New York Times created that story. And it's a fiction.
So who is he really?
Well, that's another story for another day. I can't answer that question. But I will tell you this, that what we need to do is stop creating the wars, stop funding and arming mercenaries, stop causing chaos with the so-called liberation countries, stop NATO and these other front groups from promoting neocon agendas, and stop playing stop this theater of propaganda. Look, I've been doing this for a long time, Alan. I led the effort in the United States Congress against the war in Iraq. I saw exactly what was going on right there, and I was 100% correct that Iraq didn't have anything to do with 9/11, had neither the intention nor capability of attacking the United States, didn't have the weapons of mass destruction. There was never any proof. I knew that in October of 2012 when I wrote an extensive analysis, which is still on the internet. Type in Kucinich, Iraq analysis, 2002 rather, not 12, 2002, and you'll see what was said way back then. It's not like this was a secret. So you have a government that lies to grab oil. Big surprise. And who thinks that that game is over? You know, you look at the oil that's in Kurdistan right now, and it's very clear there's going to be a renewed effort to partition Iraq, and ISIS ends up being instrumental in this. I don't like the American people being played for fools.
So we are also being lied to about how dangerous ISIS is to the well-being of the United States. They're going to attack the homeland, or they're going to send people over here to attack the homeland. Or, you know, that's what we're hearing now in terms of scaring and injecting fear into the American bloodstream.
Well, you know what? Everyone experiences fear in his or her life. It's a human emotion, and we experience it. But I'll tell you one thing. Governments who play on the fears of people do not deserve their you cannot, you know, the American people are by nature not a fearful people. And ever since 9/11, there's been an effort to try to instill fear in Americans so that America is manipulated to go into wars against countries that have no ability to attack us, and to continue to promote regime change around the world, and to promote an American imperium, which is absolutely contrary to what this country, the reason why this country was founded, contrary to our best interests, and contrary to a secure future, not only for America, but for the world.
It is an extraordinary victory for Hamas. And I think we need to understand the Obama administration has handed Hamas an enormous victory psychologically. And I am personally deeply offended by the elite view that the side that fires 2,000 rockets is the moral equivalent of the side which is trying not to kill civilians.